Well, kamusta? And welcome back to the Pacific Pathways podcast, where we explore the stories, voices, and ideas shaping Filipino communities across the U.S. and beyond. I'm your host, Ferdinand Soriano, co founder of Emporium, and also the architect of the Bayanihan Commerce Network. And in every episode, we shine a light on leaders, visionaries, and change makers who are building bridges through culture, commerce, and community. Today's episode is something special. It's called Can Empowering Our Community Also Boost Our Economy? We're joined by an individual whose name is synonymous with advocacy, action, and access. She's opened doors for many, many people, worked alongside national leaders, and reminded us that economic empowerment starts with showing up for your community. Yes, Faith Bautista is in the house. And you're going to want to lean in and listen closely, everyone, because the insight you'll hear today, they're the kind that spark real change. Okay. Now, this is not a one person show. Never, 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 never. I never do this alone. Joining me, as always, is someone who brings humor, heart, and real talk to every conversation. Let me give him the mic so that he can tell you a little bit about himself. Please welcome my co host, Sammy Sotelo. Sammy, are you excited about today as guest as I am? You are on, my friend.
Yeah, can you hear me?
There you go.
Yeah.
There, I can
Okay.
hear you now.
I got you, man. I am super excited. I really am today. And I was reading up on, some of the things that Faith has a background in, and I can't wait to dive in to hear her feedback and some insights on the topic for the day, which is empowerment. So looking forward to that.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, my friend, so everybody can get a sort of a flavor of who's actually hosting this little shindig or this little show. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
Absolutely. Well, my background is corporate marketing and business development for some world brands like Toyota, Lexus, and Soriano Chevrolet. I also have some experience in the concert realm, hosting some concerts like Boys to Men, Air Supply, John Ford Coley, Color Me Bad. So I had a lot of fun during that era. And now I'm all about the coffee, my man. Coffee, coffee, coffee.
Sounds like fun. Now, I know you're always trying to probably combine coffee and all that fun that you have. So hopefully all that experience that you have, my friend, we're going to combine it today, create community, commerce, and collaboration. But before I go ahead and let the mic completely loose to you as far as introducing our next guest, let me go ahead and do a segment called Did You Know? And this segment is the segment source brought to you by Emporium. Now, did you guys all know that Filipino Americans are one of the most civically active American groups in the U.S., but are among the most underrepresented in national economic policy decisions, or I should say discussion. And I got this from the Pew Research Center. Their comments were Filipinos are the third largest Asian American group with high levels of English proficiency, citizenship, and home ownership, yet they remain underrepresented in politics and policy discourse. And another comment here, or another tidbit, is the National Coalition for Asian Pacific Community Development. Filipino Americans are recognized as highly engaged in civic and religious activities, but face disparities in wealth building and political access. And the third one is our guest today. She'll tell you a little bit about her company and her advocacy. But I'm going to go ahead and turn over the microphone to Sammy Sotelo to introduce our guest, our special guest for today.
Today's topic is all about empowerment, right? And so I spent a lot of time thinking about exactly what that means to me. So when I think about empowerment, I'm thinking of, the idea of sharing or handing down knowledge and experience to the younger generation, because tools that can help them navigate what they haven't quite experienced, but they can use that as they move forward. So that to me kind of empowers, that next generation for that. And I'd love to be able to hear, differences of the types of empowerment techniques, or, just some things that philosophical angles, or how we can actually empower the Filipinos to, engage and increase our products and services in the U.S. market. So I'm really interested to get into that conversation with Faith. How about you? What comes to mind when you think about empowerment?
Empowerment is just knowing a lot of things, putting it together, having a forum where we can all talk to each other, encourage one another, and be confident in the things that you learn and being confident who you are in the community and what you can bring to the community. That's what I look at. And by the way, thank you for all those people either watching or just listening in their car through this podcast. Thank you. Well, I just wanted to do a quick, like that kind of recognition, Sammy, but those are my answers to your question, sir.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, because not only from professional experience, but personal as well, right? That is just as valuable in some regard, with regard to just like moving forward with things. And so, from both professional and personal, I think we can pass knowledge to help empower, our listeners and just people who are wanting to further our products and services throughout the U.S. So,
Yeah.
without further ado, let's introduce our special guest. Do you got that drum roll? Do we get a budget for that drum roll
No,
yet?
no, I'm still working on the budget. So far, I think I've got one drum, and I'm now working on the drumstick. So I'm gonna have to do it myself.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting Faith Bautista Tamashiro. She is the founder of the first Asian-owned television network and the only fully English AAPI entertainment channel to be aired in 41 states across the country, Chime TV. She is also the founder and former president and CEO of the National Asian American Coalition, a nonprofit organization that provides housing, counseling, small business lending, and technical assistance for services to help minority and low-income populations for more than 20 years. She's a founder and CEO of the National Diversity Coalition. Please welcome Ms. Faith Bautista Tamashiro.
I'm so excited. Holy cow, man. I can't believe she's on our show. No, seriously. I can't believe
that.
it.
I like the organic drum roll.
That's why we bring in big names like you, so we can get more people to listen and hopefully finally get a budget, Faith.
Someday we'll get 2 drumsticks. Welcome to the show, Faith. How are you today?
Thank you so much. I'm actually here in Sacramento, the capital. We've been in participating in public hearings, and this is just a perfect timing for interview how we can truly empower not just Filipinos but non-Filipinos as well in the public policy making. So let's do it. I'm excited.
Yeah, tell me, why don't we start there? To you, what does empowerment mean?
So, National Diversity Coalition empowers people of color, immigrants, minority groups in economic development. So, in economic development, it's having a piece of America, right? Owning your small business, starting from a startup business to becoming medium sized and large. And then as a economic development, you own a business, you need to create jobs where the people can own a home. So that's where housing empowerment comes in. Owning a piece of America, whereas the biggest wealth building is owning a home. And that's our main mission. And me personally, it's my DNA for over 2 decades now, empowering everyone, especially the 4.5 million Filipinos in United States, to make sure that they are at the table, and any policy makers always include the Filipinos' public interest.
Tell us about your story, your personal story, Faith, about how you owned a piece of America with what you're talking about, so we can really understand your background and what drives you for this mission that you have.
Thank you for the question, Sammy. As Ferdinand is saying, and I've interviewed Pew Research, the head of the AAPI. we're truly underrepresented, but we're highly engaged, right? We are highest education, highest household. When it comes to healthcare, the first thing people will know is the best employee will be nurses, will be Filipino nurses, right?
Mm,
So I
correct.
started from San Diego, Sammy and Ferdinand, and I have seen that we are treated as a second class citizen. And unfortunately, we're still there, but we made a lot of progress. So when I was mentored by one of the best public policy in the nation, Bob Ginesta, I asked him, please mentor me because I don't want to be at the back seat. I want to be in the front seat. I want to be at the table. And even though if I'm not in the table, that I'd like to bring my folding chair so I can be part of it. So with God's grace, I the blessing came in, and I was able to be part of decision making on CRA. So CRA is Community Reinvestment Act, which my late general counsel and myself, when we started the organization, I would say almost $3 trillion of community reinvestment back from the banks. We also got ourselves involved in all the mergers and acquisitions of the cable telecom, right? From the charter when they bought Time Warner Cable, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile that bought, Sprint. So all of that, and from my kitchen counter in San Diego, and it became a statewide and national organization.
Wow, that's so impressive. It sounds like this mentorship really helped you be empowered to get to your next step of
Hmm.
things.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's so inspiring to hear because I'm sure that not only did that person share the professional side of things, but I'm sure he shared some personal viewpoints and philosophies to help you. What helped you most in that relationship?
So this is, I think, what I really want to emphasize today's podcast, right? Is that collaboration,
Mm,
that helping each other elevate in in the best thing we have. When
Yeah.
I was asked, I said, Faith, lead a national Asian American coalition. First thing I said, Bob, I am a woman, I am Filipina, I have an accent, and I did not go to Ivy Leagues. And he told me, perfecto. That is the main ingredients for you to
mm,
be successful. In other words, just because we think we're minority, and
mm,
right now, whatever your political affiliation is, really we're all the same. It's a matter of bringing the best out of us. And I think Sammy and Ferdinand, you can attest to this. That is a problem in the community. That
Oh yeah.
when somebody it goes up, like somebody's better than her or him, let's create our own group. But at the same time, I would say the Filipinos are, with that, I love that bayanihan, which we will talk later on. That we are still here, just like what you're doing right now. You're interviewing me and asking me how I started, where I started. So um, basically, the idea is help one person to climb up, and
mm,
once that person is up,
Yes.
keep this person that's already on the hop, bring everybody up again,
mm,
one at a time, and together, just like other minority groups, they are so successful because together they have one voice and they can make a difference. And
Hmm.
one thing I would like the Filipinos, and I will not quit until this happen, we don't need everybody, right? I mean, it's our culture that somebody is better than somebody. We're what, how many 1,200 islands, of course we'll never get along, but I
mm.
think if only few of us can bring each other up and work together there, we will be okay.
I think you're right. And
Amen.
because you've championed so many you've championed economic inclusion for underserved communities for decades. And well, how important is economic empowerment in particular, especially through entrepreneurship and truly, uplifting the Filipino, as we talked about, and Asian American communities as well? How important is that?
Oh my gosh, so, 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 so important. Economic empowerment. F- For the Filipinos, for example, right? I would say we have the highest education. Our parents make sure that all of us can go to college and get a degree. So how do you empower them economically? How do you ask them to start a business and get this business have access to capital, access to contacts, access to contracts? And without those three, there's no empowerment. So if if we can mentor them, teach them, guide them on those economic empowerment, we can own a bank. Which, can you believe we do not own a bank? We can own a big a hospital, which we do not
Yeah.
own a hospital. We can own the biggest lab. We can own the pharmaceutical company. We can own the best fashion designer, right?
I I just got chills, on the back of my neck because I feel what you're saying, and for anybody listening, that's pretty powerful, Faith. I like that.
It's very powerful, but let me ask you, why do you think that is, though, Faith, in your opinion?
That we're not there.
Yeah, that we're not, we could have banks. I mean, we have a hospital actually in Guam. There's a Filipino hospital there, but in the United States, the main 48, 50 states, there's no Philippine hospitals that I'm aware of. But why is that?
Because sanabagan, it's that jealousy.
Mm,
Why why can't we be proud of somebody?
mm,
Like, God will give you more empowerment, more success if you're happy for that person, if you're happy for that group. But until our jealousy stays here, it is pretty hard. And I'm really hoping and praying that let's ignore those people that have that mentality. Let's focus on the one that has
mm,
a positive mindset, right? Because we
Mhm.
cannot solve the world. If we say, let's own a bank, let's own a hospital, great. We have a small hospital in Guam. That's just a small island. We are here in Los Angeles, right?
correct.
California is now the fourth largest economy in the world. And
Mm,
2.5 million Filipinos are lived in California. So we're making, like I said, we're making changes, but how do we get there? In my opinion, because I have seen this, right? When I started my organization, I did not focus on Filipinos because Filipinos will join me, will join the bandwagon when I'm already successful. So we have to be inclusive, right? I mean, you guys mentioned that
Mhm.
let's not just focus on just the Filipino market, because we have this mentality that, oh, walang we live here because walang masyadong maraming Pilipino dito, or this is a place where walang masyadong Pilipino dito. Shame on you.
mm.
I would rather have my Filipinos as my neighbors, because I know if I run out of salt and rice, I can borrow from them, right?
I
So,
agree. When you were talking, what comes to mind, when we ask why not, a lot of it has to do with trust. Community building often requires and starts with trust, whether it's in financial institution, government support, or grassroots movements. Trust is so essential because, instead of pulling each other down, got to be able to. We have to be able to come together as a community and trust one another and say, "Hey, I'd love to be able for you to succeed. Let's succeed together and work together." So, in that vein, what lessons have you learned about building trust in communities that have historically been left out?
oh, thank you for saying the trust. Um, I cannot make everybody trust me, but if I have a good quality people like Sammy and Ferdinand and all the listeners right now, that you can trust me, that you can elevate me, that if there's something wrong, you bring it up to my attention, we can slowly we can get everybody's trust, right? Unfortunately, and I hate to say that we screw our own people, right? Because we market to them, we get them, and yet they're the one that's taking advantage of us. So I I like people to be godly, to be afraid to make, I'm not saying to make a sin because that's inevitable. We always make that, but that if I work with you, I will do the best thing I can to protect you. And this is what one of the
Mm,
things that NBC does is the consumer protection.
mm, that's right. And I think, you know, trust is so important. And once you have that, personal relationship and that confidence, going back to the relationship you had with your mentor, Bobby, where you had to trust him. You had to trust him to lead you to the right way, or at least get you started with the guidance. And so in your capacity now, do you also mentor others to build
Ev-
trust?
Every single day. Um, it's a shame on me when I have so many resources and I don't share it. And that's one thing I also want to share this, that if you have knowledge, if you have resources, you share. There's a lot of community leaders that they keep it to themselves.
Mm,
So I make sure what I know, I share. What I have, I bring them. Just like today, there's 20 of us here in Sacramento. Each one of them is not going to leave my place empty handed. I will either help you create a job, include you in my advocacy, include you in the philanthropy, and teach you how to become a good and productive leader.
There's
I love
somebody.
that. That
Well,
is.
just really quick, Sammy. I just want to
Go
tell
ahead, bud.
Faith, that somebody just chimed in. You know her already, Faith. Her name is Celeste. She said she wants to be mentored. I think that's what she said. When you said that, she says me. And then Jolly Box is listening to us, just making a comment. A nonprofit with Madeline Arenas. So just want to let you know that they're listening.
Well, that I was going to just comment on. That's a great segue, because the question is like, a lot of people just don't know where to go, or they don't know what resources,
Yeah.
who these people are. But people like you, Faith, I'm a big fan because of your mission and where your heart is. And I'd love to be able to, share your knowledge, share your information with people that want to be mentored. And I'm glad that, some of the listeners are actually paying attention to some of the content, because who knows, this could lead to something really, really great. And if one succeeds, that's one step closer for us all to get closer. And I think
Yes.
it's a great, great thing that you're doing. So yeah, I'm just really impressed with your mission, and what you've done, and how selfless you are in terms of sharing what you've been through to the next person.
But Sammy and Ferdinand, it's hard because sometimes your heart is in the right place, but you get misinterpreted, right?
Mhm.
People will always say, "Oh, she's doing that for her own benefit."
All the time.
Yes, all the time. You got to admit that. I mean, come on, right? We all have to live, but if we can share the wealth and make the pie bigger, you know, Ferdinand mentioned of this underrepresented, because our pie is so small and we fight over the small crumbs.
Yeah,
Let's make this pie a lot bigger.
exactly,
Right?
exactly.
I mean, the engineers, the architects, the marketing, the social media, the banking, the finance, name it. Even the blue collar job, even those healthcare providers, right? The home care providers, they are the best. But if
Yeah.
like, help every single one of them mentor each other,
Mm,
and and don't misunderstood, because we came to this country to make a living, to have a piece of America. Because each one of us sends all kinds of balikbayan bucks. I mean, right? I mean, Philippines without the overseas workers, the economy is going to go down.
Yeah, I mean, a good amount of that is because of that, in terms of the economy being propped up from the OFWs. But I'm going to jump in here because I wanted to ask you this last question, and I swear to you, I think we're getting to the point, Sammy, where we have to do this as an hour or something. But anyway, we're really trying to make it so that people will listen. They can count on the 30 minutes and get something out of it. But it doesn't look like that because we get guests like you who have amazing things to say. And I don't want to seem like I'm rushing, but at the end of the day, we're trying to promise people, okay, 30 minutes, get impactful stuff. And, and it gets longer. So we get sucked into it and I love it. But anyway, here's my third question. Okay, I'm going to jump right in here. You talked about collaboration. You talk about different aspects of economy that the Filipino Americans should do or consider, right? So I'm going to take you to the economic side of it, like Philippine products, because those are one of my, advocacy. Okay. My question is, and you can turn this around in many ways, but the question is, you work closely with like policymakers and financial institutions, Faith. What would you say to a small business owner in the Philippines who wants to sell to the U.S. market but feels overwhelmed by maybe the barriers? What support system do you think are essential for them to succeed here? And also, lastly, as you know, I've asked you about bayanihan, and I just wanted to get your perspective or that idea. So you can take on anyone. You can go in any direction you want with that.
Sure. Thank you. I know because we have short period of time. Let me just go straight to the point. The Philippine government has to help. I've owned an Asian channel, right? And among all the Asian countries, I see a little support from the Philippine government. The Philippine products are really good. Finally, we got ubi everywhere. We're finally getting that. So non-Filipinos are using that. This is now the right place at the right time to bring Philippine products in the United States because of tariff. Take advantage of this. Success is like a train, right? The train is coming. You better get ready and go in. Otherwise, you have to wait again for the next one, and it's too late. So, yeah. Philippine products, I swear, from the mango. Why is it that mango in Costco did not come from the Philippines? Why is it the rice are not coming from the Philippines? Why is it like the banana or all the things that's good, like the pancit, right? Why is it that there's more chow mein than pancit, and I still love pancit? So for this to be successful, there's got to be a good partnership and collaboration among the government, the business owners, the factories, and the people here in America. I still believe I will always support Philippine products. I do, right? All my suits are made of Philippine designers. I make sure it's a Philippine designer because you know why? It sets me apart. It's beautiful. So, and it's a lot cheaper, right? But we're don't have enough of that. So I'm hoping that, Ferdinand, and I admire you for doing this, that buy anihan, buy the Philippine products. There's so many corporations, grocery stores, right? Look at Island Pacific Supermarket, right? Nino started it with one, and now there's like, 27, 28, and just his market alone is just Filipinos. Can you imagine if others, other groups that can join him? So we've got a lot of work to do. I need the Philippine government to step up and help these major manufacturers to bring it, to make it easier for them to sell it in the United States of America. Am I making sense?
No, you make perfect sense. The only thing that I wanted you to add on is really, um, once you get to that point where the manufacturers are that way, we as Filipino Americans here or the Filipinos here, they need to also come together, honestly, and figure out, because it's all about the infrastructure of bringing the products here. I mean, everybody will strive to want to go to Costco, Walmart, and all that, right? I get all that, and everybody wants to strive for that, but there's already an infrastructure, and that's the reason why I asked you about the Bayanihan Commerce Network, because at the end of the day, there's already a lot of little mom and pop stores, Island Pacific, Seafood City, that can take chances with these small products so that it can eventually venture out into mainstream, but it needs to be here logistically. But you hit on that, the reason why we asked you here is also because that is what it's going to take: the collaboration, the cooperation, the communication, all the C's in trying to make something happen. But I appreciate you, sort of in your own way saying that we do need to do that to bring something like Philippine products.
Yes.
So you're fantastic in with all of your advocacy, Sammy. I know we still have another segment to go, but is there anything else that you want to ask Faith before we move on to your segment, sir?
Faith, just really quick. Lastly, I know I agree with you. The Philippine government needs to be more proactive in this, but like what in your mind, what is that one thing, the next step in your mind, what they can do today that would help in that?
Buy Filipino products rather than buying whatever's being sold right now, right?
Mhm.
Buy them. Buy. The more we buy, the more capital they will get, like the coffee. If I have a choice, every time I go to a coffee shop, if there's a Filipino coffee shop, I will buy the coffee because it's actually our coffees are really good.
It's fantastic. Yes.
I'm saving that.
Pastries.
I'm saving that comment for you, Sammy.
Right? I mean,
I agree.
if there's a bagel there or ensimada, I will buy ensimada.
Yeah. There's a statistics that shows that if everybody just like Sammy, you're the one who brought it up. Like somebody just bought one,
Yeah.
a day or a week, that makes a difference when you buy Philippine products.
If they
Right?
can consciously buy at least or support a business consciously every week with 6 million Filipinos throughout the United States, I think we can make a difference and help one another.
So can I ask you this, because you guys are I'm hype up right now, because I am an advocate leader, but my heart belongs to the Filipinos.
Mm.
And I always represent Filipinos in every meetings I go to. With PG&E in the Bay Area, there's a Tagalog language because I advocated for that. Right? I'm always been the first, from the presidential appointee to advisory board on FCC and U.S. Treasury and all of that. I always make sure, this is why my organization, when I first started, I name it Mabuhay, just because I want every Americans to know one word, which is Mabuhay. And I think I've accomplished a lot of that. So even just one person will just do something to empower the Filipino community to get out to buy our products, to get the services. I'm being biased, but I love Filipino workers. I will hire them anytime. It's because we're a hardworking people. We have the ingredients. We got everything what it takes to be successful, to be empowered, and to be the leader. We are a majority minority, right? We are a leading minority groups, but yet when it comes to policy making, we're still not there. We need a lot more people in politics, more on the executive positions, the C suites, and more products. So I encourage everyone that has a product, I'll be able to even help and sell this because that's what we do. Access to contracts, access to contacts. It's a matter of helping each other. We can do it just one at a time.
Well said. Well said. We do have the best workers. We have all the nurses anybody needs, right? All we need is a hospital to put them in now.
Yeah. Do you know that if nurses boycott right now, the hospital can close?
That's
Oh yeah.
right.
Oh yeah. I'm completely in agreement with that one. Hats off to the nurses who work very hard. And I mean, we do. That's all I really was going to add on to that. But since I have to be the bad guy and sort of manage this amazing conversation, I'm going to go to our next segment. Okay, Sammy. We have a next segment, and that's over to you. And but before after you do that, we're going to go ahead and have Faith do the last words. Okay, but go ahead and do your segment, Sammy.
Sounds good. Do we have the other drumstick for the other drum roll?
No, you know what? I
No.
actually I'm going to go ahead and tap on the microphone so
Okay.
it'll annoy
Okay.
everybody. So here's the drum roll. Boom. There you go.
This business spotlight is brought to you by Cappy's Coffee Roasters, founded in Ponte Vedra Capiz, and now branching out to the U.S., sharing a cup of good morning in every brew as we rise with the East. This business is called the Baker's Son by the Valerios in Jacksonville, Florida. The owners, Victor Valerio and his wife Milagros, are the founders of Valerio Bakery and their legacy. And they are specialized in such great Philippine treats. And the Valero family had began their bakery tradition in Manila in the 1950s and expanded in the U.S. in 1979. And today they operate a multi-generational bakeries with their Jacksonville location offering authentic Filipino breads and treats like pandesal, bibingka, cassava cake, and ube desserts. Faith, you mentioned ube, so I'm sure you're going to get a good dose of ube there. So all this is happening in Jacksonville, Florida. Congratulations on our business spotlight to the Baker's Son by the Valerios in Jacksonville, located at 11957 Atlantic Boulevard. If you're in the area, please do stop by. This Filipino business spotlight is brought to you by Cappy's Coffee Roasters. Rise with the East and order your next batch online.
Thank you, my friend. You know what? The reason why I'm doing the drumstick, I mean the drum rolls and all that stuff, is because I'm actually gonna do a GoFundMe so that we can go ahead and get the props for the show. So that everybody go, feel bad for these guys. They got to have at least a drum roll of some sort. It's
one
annoying.
drumstick at a time to help our show.
Drumstick. And for those people who want to know a little bit about Faith and what she does, we actually have the website. I think, Faith, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's ndcoalition.org. Again, that's ND, like a National Diversity Coalition, but she just put it at ndcoalition.org. And I want to go ahead and say thank you to Faith. I hope she's still there. Faith, are you still there? There you go. This whole thing that we always do is we try to create community, commerce, and we talk. We want to just get right to the point, but we also want people to act. So the one thing that we're always trying to promote in the show is the Bayanihan Commerce Network, because it's a way for us to come together and utilize existing infrastructures to bring more Filipino products in here. So if you're a store owner, online store owner, or an influencer, we'd love to collaborate with you. And if you want to join the thread that currently Faith is in, Sammy's in, then we all just share information on how to create and help each other's businesses, not just for us to sell products through you. No, it's more like, again, it's empowering. So if you want to know more about that, then go ahead and hit us up, as they say. Sammy, I'm going to go ahead and just end the show with Faith saying something, and then Sammy, and then I'm just going to go ahead and tune out there or sign off. So go ahead, Sammy, if you want to say something, and then we'll leave it with Faith.
Well, Faith, I just want to thank you for your time. I think we need to have you back for sure on a future broadcast so that we can get more into some of the really interesting conversation, especially with your experience and your advocacy for what you do. So I want to thank you for your insights for empowering Filipinos.
Thank you. If I can just say for the last, just the last thing, let's love each other. Let's show love. Let's trust.
Yep.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate that, Faith. For me, thank you so much for being on the show and providing your input, because it means so much to the show to continue to elevate and really promote commerce and community. With that being said, you're awesome. Thank you so much. You continue being awesome. So we'll talk to you soon. I'm sure you just want to rest up for tomorrow again. You take care, Faith.
Salamat. Bye.
Salamat to you,
Bye.
Sammy. Salamat, bro. We'll talk soon.
Salamat.
Okay. All right.
Sounds good, my friend.
All right,
Awesome
be
show.
good.
Thank you.
You're right. Bye-bye. Listen to us again in 2 weeks as we fight another amazing leader about community and competition. This is Ferdinand Soriano from Pathways. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye.